Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, right here at 88.3 FM WXOU, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Oakland University, and all your wonderful station identification features. I'm your host and sports media director of WXOU, Giovanni Mosheri, and the GioMoShow is your home for all of your Oakland sports and beyond on 88.3 FM. Don't forget to follow WXOU on our MAB award-winning social media platforms, including but not limited to Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Be sure to also join the WXOU Discord server to communicate with everybody at the station, get to know everybody, and just have fun and keep up with all of your WXOU news, which you can also find on our website, WXOU.org. We got news, articles, show recordings, schedules, and that's where you can listen to the GioMoShow live Thursdays at 6. Also, while you're on there, while you're on social media, while you're digging through the internet, why don't you go and give me a follow as well on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find the GioMoShow's signature page at the GioMoShow on Instagram. That's the place to be for the GioMoShow, all latest updates, news on the show. And you can also follow me on regular Instagram at Mosheri_Giovanni. Twitter is at GioMoSheri WXOU. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on the screen. But for my Spotify listeners, that is where to go. And if you missed the live show Thursdays at 6, then you can find the GioMoShow at any time on YouTube and Spotify. And I myself missed the show live Thursdays at 6 because yesterday was the first men's basketball game of this season. I just had to be there to call it. We had the right amount of staff to get that one going, so I had to make sure that we got there. We got the play-by-play, or I got the play-by-play. Jacob Verosik was with me on color. Kayla was nice enough to do the studio for us, so you can find the recording and the highlights of that on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel, so be sure to like and subscribe to that one as well. You can find that in the description of this video. And as usual, we got plenty to cover today. We're going to get to your Oakland club sports, as well as dipping back into esports and swim and dive, along with men's soccer, women's soccer, and volleyball. And we got a little bit of sprinkling of extra news in cross country as well. And we're definitely going to be going through the NFL Week 6 and how the Lions did against the Buccaneers, and how we think they're going to be doing against the upcoming Ravens. And we'll finish up the show with my picks for the weekend. And because we recorded this after Thursday Night Football, I already got it wrong. So we'll skip Thursday night, but we'll get to the rest of the picks for this week right here on the GioMoShow. And before we get started, we got to talk about Bart's Pizza. Bart Basilico reinvented his father's pizzeria business by putting it on wheels. I'm talking a pizza food truck, baby. Bart and his wife Lauren travel all around Metro Detroit, cooking up homemade pies made fresh to order in their 4-layered pizza oven on wheels. You can find them on their website at eatbartspizza.com and on Facebook and Instagram at Bart's Pizza. His last name is literally Basil, so you know he knows what he's doing in the kitchen. Make sure to grab a cannoli while you're there as well. And where is Bart's Pizza going to be this month? Well, you can find them on their website and Instagram for all the information on their whereabouts and how to get that delicious pizza. Bart's Pizza, it's too good. And before we get started, once again, we got to give you the news for WXOU's upcoming broadcasts. For this weekend, tomorrow as of this recording, Saturday at 1 p.m., Milwaukee comes to visit the Oakland Golden Grizzlies at the Oakland Soccer Field. John and Harj on the call. Tuesday at 6 p.m., the 24th, Harj and Gavin will be calling Purdue Fort Wayne as they come to visit volleyball. And next weekend for volleyball, Friday, 6 p.m., Northern Kentucky comes to visit. Myself and Joey Hayes on the call. And then volleyball once again that following day, the 28th, 4 p.m., Wright State comes by. That got me and Harj on the call for that game. So be sure to tune into WXOU at those times. Stay tuned for WXOU's Instagram page for information on that, and to the website for recordings and updates on each game. And now let's get into your Oakland club sports. So for club football, for homecoming weekend, they took on Loyola Chicago on homecoming night and came out with their first victory and conference win, 19-6 over the Ramblers. And you can find the game in its entirety, as well as the highlights on WXOU Sports' YouTube channel. It was me, it was Jacob Verostek, and Jake Masucci on the call, and it was so much fun to call them and to see them get their win in the way that they did. It was a very exciting game, so I suggest you guys go and check it out. And they will now be traveling on the road for this week to take on the Toledo Rockets. D1 Club Hockey, they played against Roosevelt this weekend at Suburban Ice Rochester, unfortunately coming away with no wins in the 2 games played. They will now go on to face Grand Valley at home on October 27th. D3 Club Hockey, we're going to have them on the GioMoShow pretty soon here. We just got done with an interview just earlier this morning as of this recording. Got to talk to Duncan, got to talk to Jack, and to Brendan as well to learn about their team, their journey, and everything you need to know about D3 Club Hockey. And there was 3 extra guests sitting behind the camera. So technically they broke the record for the most guests on the GioMoShow with 6, the 3 on camera and then the 3 behind. But in terms of interviewees, Women's Club Lacrosse still has the record with 4. But either way, you could go and check out the interview with D3 Club Hockey next week or whenever it may come out. Just keep a lookout for that. They recently got done playing Grand Valley and Florida Gulf Coast, and they will now go on to play University of New Mexico as well as Arizona State. Be sure to check out D3 Club Hockey's Instagram as well as the rest of the club team's Instagrams for all the information on their clubs. D1 Club Hockey, Twitter is the place to be for that. Women's Club Lacrosse, this weekend they will be hosting their last play day of the fall, where they will be facing Loyola Chicago, U of M, and Dayton. Women's Club Soccer are coming off a huge win over U of M Flint, winning 6-0 over the Flint Wolverines. You can check out their Instagram to find out who won the MVPs for that game. They will now have to go on to face U of M Mays on October 22nd at 10:30 a.m. at the Upper Fields. Men's Club Lacrosse tomorrow, October 21st. They will be taking on Saginaw Valley State at 2 p.m. at the Upper Fields to face the Cardinals. Club Softball, they will go on to play U of M in Ann Arbor, on October 29th. Women's Club Rugby, we're going to be getting an interview with them sometime next week, so be sure to stay tuned to that as well for Women's Club Rugby's interview on the GioMoShow. Club Baseball, I got a quick interview with them, and you can find that on my main Instagram. I got to talk to club president Billy Peters as well as Josiah Bouchard to get the scoop on the team. They're going to be facing U of M Flint momentarily, and you can find that quick interview, just about a minute and a half. You can find that on my main Instagram at Mosheri_Giovanni. And with that, I will wrap up your Oakland University Club Sports update on the GioMoShow. And before we go to break, I got to talk to you and let you know about the Eli Andrews Show. The new late night show on WXOU, always Thursdays at 10 on WXOU. And after 10 p.m., the FCC guidelines seem to be lifted a little bit. They ease up on those standards, which means vernacular, which means vulgarity, and which means tons of fun late night on WXOU. Listen to Eli Sepulveda and Andrew Deacon ask their guests the wildest questions that they write for each other, which means that Eli asks the guests Andrew's questions and Andrew asks Eli's questions. So join in on the hilarity Thursdays at 10 p.m. on WXOU. We'll be right back for your NCAA Oakland University Sports Update on the GioMoShow. Welcome back, everybody, to the GioMoShow. Let's get into the Oakland University NCAA Sports Update. Let's get some D1 involved in here. And to start off, we got some little news here from Oakland University Track and Field. So on October 13th, they played in the Pink Classic, or they ran in the Pink Classic. The men came away with 13th place, and the women came away with 4th place. And they will now be heading to... Where will they be heading to? Hold on, let me read this. They will be heading to the EMU Fall Classic for their final regular season meet. That will be 4:30 p.m. today, I believe, as of this recording, this being Friday the 20th. So be sure to stay up to date with Oakland Track and Field and Cross Country on Instagram and Twitter for more information. And now let's get into your Oakland University Esports. We have plenty of games to cover, so I'm going to take you through all of them. Rocket League this past Tuesday, they took on Boise and Kansas, and they finished the regular season. That one was the last match of the regular season of fall 2023. Oakland finishes with a 6-2 record, securing second place in the standings. They will be back next week to start the LCQ to earn a spot in the playoffs. Smash Brothers, they faced Missouri State on Tuesday, where they beat MSU Esports 2-0 GG's. They will be back to Pokemon Stadium 2 next Tuesday in a match against Carthage. League of Legends, they faced Oklahoma Christian, in where they fell to the, well, let's say to the Christians. They lost 2-0, and they will be back Thursday against WKU. We'll get to that in just a moment here. Rocket League, they faced Northwood's both white and blue team. The blue team, yes, that one's the blue team. Blue team finished 3-0 against the Golden Grizzlies, and the white team, they finished 3-2 in match 5 against the Golden Grizzlies. So no victories against Northwood, but that's why Northwood is one of the best in the country. Smash Brothers, they faced Michigan Tech, where they had a win over the Huskies, 2-0 GG's. And the Smash Brothers team will finish their regular season with a 6-0 record, taking first place in the division and automatically earning a spot in the playoffs with that first seed. So well done to the Smash Brothers team. League of Legends, they face Western Kentucky, where we're still waiting upon results for that match, as well as Rocket League against Illinois and Nicholas. We're still awaiting results on that one. On Oakland Esports' Twitter accounts. That's where you can find all the news and upcoming events, links to all the streams of their matches. So be sure to follow them and to keep up with them on at Oakland Esports. And you can find them on Twitch. You can find their matches at twitch.tv/Oakland Esports. Very simple to remember. Moving on now to swim and dive. They had a meet, just the women, against the Toledo Rockets as they came to the Oakland Aquatic Center for this past Friday, the 13th. Spooky. And the Toledo Rockets, they beat the Golden Grizzlies 167-30 to 133. And the Rockets, they took gold. They took first place in 10 of the 16 events. And Oakland did finish first place in both of the diving events. 1 meter and 3 meter diving had Ellie Shalafo win gold in both. And that earned her the Horizon League Women's Diver of the Week. So congratulations and go Golden Grizzlies for the pool. They will be now coming up to a meet against Purdue and Rutgers on Friday, November 3rd and Saturday, November 4th. And that's going to be at West Lafayette, Indiana. So they're going to be going away for that one. Women's soccer, they've had an interesting couple of games here. Last Thursday, October 12th, that's the last time you heard the GioMoShow. That game was going live while we were talking about it. But the Oakland Golden Grizzlies, they finished with a 2-1 victory on the road at IUPUI. They then followed that up with a home game here on homecoming. I had the call for that one along with Joey Hayes against Green Bay. And it was a tough defensive match where neither team was able to crack the other's defenses, and in a 0-0 draw. They will now be facing the number 1 ranked in the Horizon League, Milwaukee Panthers. They're going to be facing them tomorrow, October 21st at 1 p.m., and you can hear that one on WXOU as well. And they will then finish the regular season at Detroit Mercy on Wednesday, October 25th, and then they will be heading into the Horizon League tournament. For the IUPUI game, where we won 2-1, it was Anuhea Alui who had a goal, as well as Frankie Mudd, to get the victory for the Golden Grizzlies. And in the game against Green Bay, there were plenty of shots flying despite the 0-0 draw. Oakland had 13 shots and Green Bay had 12, and Oakland had 6 of them on goal, Green Bay with 9. And as for their Women's Horizon League soccer standings, Milwaukee still at first place with a 6-0-2 record and 20 conference points. And we find Oakland at the 4th seed with a 3-1-4 record and 13 points in the Horizon League, tied with Robert Morris and IUPUI with those 13 conference points. Moving on now to men's basketball. They had their first game of the season. It's exhibition against Walsh University, but still worth covering on the GioMoShow and still worth covering on WXOU. I had the call for this one along with Jacob Verostek. That one was so much fun to call. I love calling basketball, and I'm so glad that the season is now back. So the Walsh Cavaliers, they came by to visit the Golden Grizzlies at the arena last night, that being Thursday the 19th, and Oakland, unfortunately, did not come away with a win, lost 75-69 to the Cavaliers in a game that, frankly, surprised me. Normally, I mean, you see exhibition games, and you're like, okay, they're going to have some lower-ranked team, and they're going to, We're gonna beat the brakes off of them and have some fun and kind of get a better feel for the game, practice some of their offense. I mean, that at least was my impression from last year. That was some of the first games I watched against Grand Valley and then Rochester University. But this game, man, the Cavaliers gave it to them, and I'm calling it like I saw it. I was on the sideline. I was calling it the whole time. I think I have some credibility in this one. But the main story I would say for this game was Kobe Mitchell for the Walsh Cavaliers. He had 32 points in this game and was 9 of 14 from 3. Incredible shooting. The guy was lights out. He was 11 of 17 from the field, 1 of 2 from his free throws, had a few rebounds, had a few assists, and had a couple steals as well. Kobe Mitchell was just everywhere for the Cavaliers. Golden Grizzlies were able to slow him down as the game went on, but the damage was pretty much done by the time they got to that. That was around, I would say, 10 minutes left in the game that Mitchell was starting to be slowed down significantly. But the Cavaliers, they got up to as much as an 11-point lead throughout the game. Oakland got it within 2 at certain points, but it kind of fluctuated within that 11-2 range in the game. But that one was still a lot of fun to watch. Kobe Mitchell was just everywhere. I was astonished. But going to the Golden Grizzlies, and I'm not saying that there wasn't anything good to take away for the Golden Grizzlies in this game. Trey Townsend, he had a lot of the offensive production. He had 22 points, was 8 of 16 from the field, and made 6 of his 10 free throws, 9 rebounds and 3 assists as well, a block and a steal to go on top of that. Jack Golke for the Golden Grizzlies, what was as advertised, the three-point shooter. He's going to, that's his specialty. That's his key. He's going to be throwing up threes. He had 15 points and was 5 of 14 from the three-point arc, and there's a couple of those three-pointers that were down to the wire, less than a minute left to go in the game. He had a couple of them and showed that he's got a little bit of that clutch shooting in him as well. DQ Cole had some of the three-point shots late in the game as well. He went 2 of 6 and 3 of 7 from 3. He had a nice steal for a layup in the second half as well, I can't remember which half, but he had a nice steal for a layup in the game as well. He totaled 8 points in the game. And then Tone Hunter, him and Rocket Watts were sharing the point guard position throughout the game. Tone Hunter, he was 4 of 8 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 1 of 2 from the stripe. He had 4 assists for 9 points. And Rocket Watts, he was 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block as well for 7 points. So we're kind of seeing Tone Hunter, we're seeing Rocket Watts, they're kind of sharing the point guard position, at least from what we saw from this game. So we're going to see as the season goes on who's going to be taking that the main starting role as the point guard, or if they're going to be splitting it throughout the entire season. So we'll see that throughout the season. So those are some of the highlights of the men's basketball exhibition match against Walsh University. And let's be frank, it's exhibition. It don't matter. Golden Grizzlies have a lot to clean up, and they now have the tape to recognize what they have to work on, and going to go from there. They're going to be playing Wayne State Monday the 30th at the Arena for another exhibition game before getting started in the regular season, and I can't wait for that regular season. Moving on now to volleyball. They had a also interesting homecoming weekend, Friday, October 13th. I had the call for that one on WXOU. It was against the Panthers, who were ranked number 1, and Oakland with the opportunity to take first place in the Horizon League. Did not quite do so. They lost 0-3 to the Panthers, but they came back. The other team that was above them in the Horizon League standings was Green Bay. So both the Wisconsin teams have been, giving it to the Horizon League all season long. So they came to visit on the next day, October 14th, and it took him all the way to set 5. Oakland coming away with a victory 3-2 against the Phoenix on Senior Day. They are now on the road. Well, now they're on the road. They're about to play at Robert Morris, that being today, Friday at 6 p.m., and they will also be at Youngstown State to face the Penguins before coming home on October 24th, that being Tuesday, against Purdue Fort Wayne for Pride Night. Looking at least at the stats of the Green Bay game, we saw a great performance by many of the Golden Grizzlies. Patty Cicerini had 21 kills in the 5 sets. Emily Wickman with 37 digs. Ainsley Gousset with 4 blocks. And Rachel Rossman with 27 assists. As far as the standings are concerned, Wright State has taken The first spot in the Horizon League with an 8-2 conference record. Milwaukee behind them 7-2. Northern Kentucky 7-3. And we got Oakland 6-3 in the Horizon League. So Oakland ranked 4th so far in the standings. Men's soccer had a lot of fun in the rain of homecoming weekend. They played Friday against the Raiders in a game that finished with a 5-0 victory for the Golden Grizzlies in constant rain. It was just such a sloppy game. We weren't able to get the call on WXOU because of the rain. But let me give you the goal scorers for the Golden Grizzlies. We got Owen Smith. He was assisted by Luke Benford and Donovan Phillip. Donovan Phillip got a score himself, assisted by Vile Ahola and Mikey Keteman. Malik Sylvester got another goal, unassisted. Mikey Keteman, he got in the action as well, assisted by Marco Matsai and Luke Benford. And then Owen Smith got another one, assisted by Mikey Keteman. So, plenty of scoring to go around against the Raiders, and especially after their tough loss to Western Michigan, I believe was the previous game where they lost 0-5. They then beat the Raiders 5-0. Shots during that game, Oakland had 13 with 9 of them on goal, and Wright State had 8 with 4 on goal. And then they went on to face the Louisville Cardinals this past Tuesday. A very good ACC team. Oakland University fell 4-0. They now go on the road for the Horizon League games. RMU is in their sights tomorrow at noon, October 21st. And then later they face Green Bay at Green Bay, October 28th at 2 p.m. before coming back home to finish off the regular season against Detroit Mercy for the blackout game. That's going to be November 1st, Wednesday at 2 p.m. And then they're on to the Horizon League tournament. And as far as the standings are concerned for that, IUPUI stands at first place with 13 conference points and a 4-1-1 record, 6-5-3 overall. And then Oakland is right behind them. We got 12 conference points. We got a 4-2 record overall, or in conference, and then 5-7-2 overall. So Oakland's knocking on the door, and these next 3 games are going to be crucial for getting that first seed in the Horizon League tournament. And with that, that is going to wrap up your Oakland NCAA D1 sports update on the GioMoShow. And before we go back to break, I got to tell you about Friday Night Groove. Fridays at 8 p.m., listen to Friday Night Groove right here on WXOU. Hosted by DJ RBJ since 2011. Friday Night Groove is your home for some of the best soul, jazz, electronic, indie, and alternative music here at the station. He also has interviews with the artists and one of the best radio voices in the game. You can go to FridayNightGrooves.com and follow at Trill Gunderson. That's Tril Gunderson on Instagram for the latest on the show. Friday Night Grooves, Fridays at 8 p.m. on WXOU. We'll be right back with the GioMoShow for your NFL football therapy. Welcome back, everybody, to the GioMoShow on 88.3 FM WXOU. Or at least it would have been if not for that basketball game that we talked about earlier in the show. We covered the club sports. We covered the Oakland NCAA sports. And now let's get into that football therapy. The doctor is here to give you the therapy you need and the therapy that I need as well. So we're going to go over the Detroit Lions. They played a monster of a game in Tampa Bay, one that definitely got the national attention that I think that they've deserved throughout most of the season. And they've been getting a little bit, but this game against the Buccaneers was one that definitely put the Lions on the map. Now they are tied for the best record in the NFL at 5-1. They're tied with the Dolphins. They're tied with the Chiefs. They're tied with the 49ers and the Eagles. So they're up there. They're undoubtedly now one of the best teams in the league. They're top 5, top 4 in most of the power rankings I'm looking at. Stephen A. Smith, he put the Lions number 1 on his A list. So that one was a lot of fun to see. Last week, I think we were number 4, but now, after the 49ers went down, after the Eagles went down, Lions moved up. They won that week, so they got the jump up to top spot in the A list. And it was so much fun to watch. I listened to some of the first quarter I was listening to on the radio. I do like listening to Dan Miller, Lomas Brown, TJ Lang. They all break it down for us on the radio. I love the way they call it, and I like to learn a thing or two as I'm listening to it. But the touchdown by Amon-Ra St. Brown, that huge block from Craig Reynolds. I heard that one in the car. I pulled up to my house in the driveway, and I was like, I'm gonna wait until the drive's over, or I'm gonna wait until the play's over. And I heard that one, heard it live. The big block by Craig Reynolds, and then knock on the door at home and say, "You're welcome." Also, hi. So that's how it went for me. So getting into some of the stats of this game, Jared Goff, he had to take a lot of the load for this one. We lost David Montgomery towards the beginning of the game. I can't remember if it was first quarter or early second quarter or not, but David Montgomery went down, and that one hurt. That's going to be a big piece of the offense that, is going to be left there. Craig Reynolds, he stepped in. He did a phenomenal job in what they had to do, but the Lions, they definitely leaned over towards the passing game, and as reflected in the stats, Jared Goff threw the ball 44 times in the game, and we haven't seen him throw this much just because of the run game and with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, neither of which were available once Montgomery went down. So they decided they got to put it to Jared Goff. Their quarterback's going to have to take them to the promised land against the Buccaneers, and he certainly did. He went 30 of 44, 353 yards with 2 touchdowns and a 107 passer rating, 107.5, QBR of 78.8. And we now learned from that Jared Goff is capable of putting the team on his back, is capable of being, the last option for the offense. I phrased that weird. Not the last option, but the offense is predicated on the run game, and that's where Jared Goff is most comfortable. But if need be, and especially against a team that is stout at stopping the run, especially when you got big old Vita Vea in the middle of the Buccaneers defense, they have a pretty solid defense, especially against the run. So in situations like that, we now learned that Jared Goff is going to be able to still keep the offense moving in those conditions. I love that, and I believed it. If you watch last year, he could do it. He definitely could do it. And I believe the stat has now come out, and I don't know if this was last week or now incorporating this week, but now in the past 17 games that the Lions have been in, and Jared Goff has played, his last 17 games, he is almost 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. And in a sample size of a full NFL season. Obviously, you got the offseason in the middle of it, but in that 17-game span, 4,500, 29 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Those sound like MVP numbers. I'm not saying, hey, easy now. I'm not saying that Jared Goff is going to get the NFL MVP for this year. Still a lot left to go, and I don't think that even if he does have a season like he did last year he had pretty much the same. I think it was like 4,200 yards and high 20s touchdowns, a few more picks, but he's not going to get the attention needed for him to be considered in the MVP. I think he's in the conversation, and I think he's going to be that third and maybe fourth place in MVP voting. He deserves to at least be up there. Top 5 MVP voting, I think, is a perfectly fine space to put Jared Goff, not necessarily based on performance, but from where I think the media is going to put him. I mean, obviously it's more than just media that votes, but I think with that in mind, I think top 5 is a deserving place to put him right now, especially if he keeps up the way that he is going with the Lions. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is a dog, dude. He is so good. 12 receptions, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Thank you to Craig Reynolds, of course. Jameson Williams, hello there. Welcome to the team. 2 receptions, 53 yards, and a 45-yard touchdown included in that. And with some nasty routes. If you look back at the tape, and I've been seeing some people on Instagram, they point out some of the tape. The one route where I believe he was on the left side of the field, and the ball was thrown just a little bit too short. He had to lean forward. He couldn't quite get underneath it in time. But if you watch the replay of that route that he ran, he's going full speed, basically against the sideline, and stops on a dime. The corner covering him was 10 yards away from him by the time that he made that cut and he was ready for the catch. Just ball wasn't delivered well enough. I'm not putting that on Williams. But it showed that ability is crazy. It showed that he is looking to be as advertised. If if the ball is given to him the right way, if he can get a little bit better with the hands, he proved himself to be good for this game in terms of hands and and catching. He caught two of his three targets. One of them, like I mentioned, was thrown a little bit too soft. But I'd say he's proven himself to be in that trustworthy position that the Lions are going to need him, or that the coaching staff has said that he's going to need to be in. He's going to have to be reliable. He's going to have to be, consistent so that they could trust him. Reliable and trustworthy is what he's got to be, and so far he's on his way to it. Now, the game before, the Carolina game, I didn't like what I saw. And even this game, as I was watching it live, I wasn't necessarily hooked on what Williams is doing. Before I saw the replays and I saw some of the tape come out and all that stuff, I wasn't quite sold. Even the touchdown that he had, when I saw it live, and now that's not the opinion I hold now, but at the time, to see him kind of track the ball both ways and kind of looking almost undecided as to where to go with the ball, or where to go to catch the ball in the end zone. And by the time the camera panned towards him, the corner was so close to him, I thought that he was covered really well. And, I just wasn't impressed, even with the touchdown. Obviously, I was happy with it, but, I wasn't impressed at the time. But I saw the separation that he had. He basically just ran straight, full speed, and then with a bit of a curve on it. Now, the ball is going to have to get to him a little bit with better timing from Goff. I'll put that on him. He's got to learn the rhythm and the speed of his super fast receiver. But he beat that guy to the end zone, and he had to kind of slow down to track the ball, which is why the defender was kind of getting close to him. But, now standing back, seeing all that I need to see, JMO's exciting. And I can't wait to see what he does against Baltimore and throughout the rest of the season. I just hope that he's not going to be having any other drops like he had against Carolina when he was going across the middle. I just hope that he works on the jugs machine. St. Brown, I hope that he, has him do the 202 jugs machines and all that kind of stuff. I want him to be good because he's able to be really, really good. So that one was really exciting to see. And let's talk about the Lions defense, dude. This is now the second time, and it's the stat I came up with. This isn't something that I read in a very specific tweet, but this season, this is now the second time that the Lions have taken a promising NFC South team and held them to 6 points and embarrassed them. It happened with the Falcons, and it happened now with the Bucs. It was a different game with the Panthers because obviously we blew the doors off them, and the defense didn't have to be as stout. So we'll see what happens against the Saints later this season. We'll see if that could be repeated. We'll see if the Saints could get more than 6 points on the Lions. I'm just saying they do well in the NFC South. But the defense was just awesome. Anzalone, I thought was sweet. Tracy Walker had a freaking hit stick later in the game. And it just the defense is just buzzing. They're holding to field goals even when they let a long pass by the Buccaneers. When they let that one go, they still hold them to a field goal. At least in that situation, they were bend don't break. But in other situations, they didn't let them get. They barely got any of their offense. Let me look at some of the stats from the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield had 205 passing, and they only ran for 46 yards. Now, I know the Lions only rushed for 40 as well, but, the Lions that giving up, barely giving up 250 yards. They are, it's rushing yards. I think they're still their number one rush defense. But it's just, let's summarize here. Come on, Giovanni, let's keep on track here. I just want to say the Lions defense is awesome. Goff proved to be the man in that game. Jameson Williams has come out party, and St. Brown stays consistent. Craig Reynolds filling in well. Big block by him. And it was just a great game in Tampa Bay. And the fans traveling, dude, is incredible. And, of course, it's surprising for us to see because, we've never seen us take over multiple stadiums before, taking over Lambeau, Kansas City had a fantastic crowd as well. And, we were there in Tampa. And, we've never seen this before because the team wasn't worth traveling for before. Now that the team is one of the best in the league, now's the time that it's worth the travel. Now is the time. Now it's not crazy to say, oh, let's go to Tampa for a weekend to watch the Lions, as well as enjoy the weather. But the team is worth traveling to now. And it's incredible to see the power that the fan base that we have. We've known that we're that we're this crazy and we're this passionate and we love our team this much. We knew it, but it wouldn't travel because it wasn't worth it. Now that it is, now the nation sees the sea of blue in each stadium that the Lions have played in, and I'm curious to see the crowd in Baltimore. And let's get to that game before we get to the rest of the NFL and get to my Week 7 picks. So let's talk about the Baltimore game a little bit. So the Ravens, they're coming off a big London win over the Titans, 24-16. Lamar Jackson had 223 yards passing, had a touchdown and an interception. Let me pull up the box score just to make sure. He ran for 62 yards as well on 13 carries. It's Lamar Jackson. That's what you're going to get. Not as much on the passing, but he's got the running ability. Obviously, I'm not saying anything new here. But what I've been noticing is that the defense is significantly improved from what I thought. I didn't ever thought of the Ravens as a big defensive team in the Lamar Jackson era. Obviously, you think of that with Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and Ed Reed. That's the guys you think of with the Ravens historically, but lately, I didn't, in my perception, didn't quite see the Ravens as a tough defensive team. But, I've been hearing around town, we hear Rich Eisen claiming that the Baltimore defense is top 5 in the league because he called the game in London. And from what he saw from Roquan Smith and the rest of that defense is incredible. They're number 1 in sacks in the league, and you wouldn't think so because they don't have a star edge rusher. It's a collective effort in the game, on their defense. But they have the most sacks in the league. So it's a formidable defense. Roquan Smith is one of the best middle linebackers in the NFL right now. So I think, and we're seeing similarities being drawn between this game and the one we played at Tampa, is that it's going to be kind of a defensive game here, but with the added element of Lamar Jackson and trying to cover him and contain him and to make sure that he's not tearing us up like we've seen the Lions suffer from in the past. A couple of our weaknesses were, passes to tight ends and a mobile quarterback. And we see it, and we saw that especially last year in the Seattle game. That's where it really was noticeable. And Justin Fields in a couple of the Bears games as well. Jalen Hurts in the first game of last year. Mobile quarterbacks and tight ends seem to be the secret weapon against the Lions defense back in the day, back last year. So I'm curious as to how the defense is going to perform this time against a team that his offense is basically built around a mobile quarterback and a great tight end in Mark Andrews. Zay Flowers is going to be there as well for the Ravens offense. But I'm just curious to see how we match up with it, how we handle that mobile quarterback. And you could and that is a great measuring stick for the improvement of this defense from last year. Are we able to overcome the weakness that we've had before? I'm excited to see it. Definitely, I'm predicting, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for my NFL picks for this week, but the Lions, I think, are going to get to 6-1 against the Ravens. I think that the Ravens, although they're a good team, the Lions travel well, defense travels well, and I think that our offense is enough to where, let's say the defenses match up even with each other. And this is kind of how I evaluate games. It's kind of like where the defenses and offenses stack. Obviously, Ravens got the best kicker, in NFL history, so the special teams will give it to them. But I think that with our defenses at least being even, I would say the Lions offense can put in more work than the Ravens offense. So if you're even and then better in one, you're a net positive. So I think the Lions are going to take this one in Baltimore and really, really shock the league. So that is my 2 cents on the Lions at the Buccaneers, and then now the future Lions at the Ravens. So let's get into the rest of the NFL scoreboard, shall we? Let's get to some of the highlights, some of the action throughout Week 6. So the Chiefs and Broncos game on Thursday Night Football was weird. The trying to think if there was something weird about this game. In this game, Russell Wilson, wasn't really the problem in this game. He did well enough for the team. They had opportunities, but just didn't scratch it. I'm not talking about this game. I'll just, start over. Broncos and Chiefs, they played Thursday night. Chiefs won it 19-8. Travis Kelce had his 9 for 124 against the Broncos, and the Broncos have some serious questions to answer with this upcoming trade, or NBA-style trade deadline that is now emerged in the NFL. So Broncos 1-5. They got some questions to answer. Chiefs are now 5-1. Although it seems with the Chiefs a little bit fugazi. Seems a little bit weird. You got the interceptions being called back for Patrick Mahomes, and you're seeing just a little bit of weirdness. I'll leave it at that. I don't have much evidence to back that up, but that's the vibe I get from the Chiefs this year. Just a little fugazi. I mean, definitely their defense is remarkable this season. They're one of the best defenses in the league as well, but different this year for the Chiefs. And as we mentioned, Ravens and Titans. Ravens got it 24-16. And then Commanders and Falcons. The Commanders, they now even up their record. They reached 500 with 3-3 and dropped the Falcons down to 3-3 as well with a 24-16 lead. You got the Vikings and Bears. This one was gross. This one was a weird kind of defensive game and two bottom feeders in the north, and Vikings winning 19-13. Vikings are now 2-4 and the Bears are 1-5. Although recently I've seen the Bears, have played much better than their record has shown in at least the past 3 games against the Broncos and the Commanders. And, I guess not so much this game, but the Bears, I think, are improving. Their record isn't going to be very good this year, but I could see them creeping up to be a threat a little bit later in the season. So we'll see how they match up when the Lions play them. Seahawks and Bengals. Bengals starting to dig themselves out of a hole here, now back at 500, winning 17-13 against the Seahawks. And then the 49ers fall for the first time this season to the legendary and dominant defense of the Cleveland Browns. The stat for the Browns is something like they have allowed the fewest yards since the 70s, since the Purple People Eaters, since the Vikings were going to the Super Bowl. It had a defense like that has not been seen in the NFL until this year. And shout out to defensive coordinator and former Lions head coach Jim Schwartz for managing that team and to let them play the way that they should be playing. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was Jim Caldwell that had that number 1 defense with the Lions in 2014. But, Jim Schwartz, I guess after his days with the Lions, has proven to be a freaking awesome defensive coordinator. And what better way to show that than with the 3-2 Browns, legendary defense, and that AFC North is completely up in it's a shrug right now. We have no idea who's going to come out of that one. And they dropped the 49ers 19-17. And I will understand, and I do know that 49ers would have won it if not for the field goal by Jake Moody, 3rd-round pick out of Michigan, a rookie kicker. Missed a reasonable, I think, 40-ish yard field goal, but Browns win it, man. And they knock down the 49ers and helps us as the Lions in terms of seeding. Dolphins, they shred the Panthers 42-21. Tyreek Hill, 6 for 163 and a touchdown. And that touchdown, he did a backflip with someone's phone recording him. That was so cool. I'm not going to lie. That stuff is awesome. Colts and Jaguars. Jaguars, they give it to the Colts, led by Gardner Minshew. They win 37-20 and are now 4-2 and leading the AFC South. And we saw Travis Etienne, 2 touchdowns, 18 for 55 on the ground, and he's proven to be a big weapon himself. Saints and Texans. I keep thinking the Saints are going to be good. I keep thinking that with the defense that I've been hearing about them having, and the defense that is pretty decent in this league. I love Cam Jordan. He's one of my favorite players, dude. He is awesome. But I keep hearing about the Saints. I keep hearing that, they got Chris Olave coming off of a 1,000-yard rookie season. I hear about Michael Thomas coming back. I hear about Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr and how he's questionable. I mean, he's iffy, we'll say. But, I keep hearing good things about this team. And they drop one to the Texans, who are now 3-3, as well as the Saints. So Texans win at 20-13, and CJ Stroud proven to have a very good rookie year so far. And we got a stinker with the Patriots and Raiders. Raiders, they beat the Patriots 21-17 and just keep hammering the nail and driving the stake into Bill Belichick's vampire heart. And the questions keep coming up about, can Belichick keep it going? That team stinks. That team is unforgivably bad, given that they're coached by one of the greatest of all time. It's just awesome to see. You see this, if you're on Spotify, you can't see me, but the grin I have on my face, knowing that the Patriots stink now, and it's an opinion that is shared by much of the league, but it's fun to see them just stink in football. Raiders, they're not perfect, but they end the game on a safety by Max Crosby. Crosby, I'm a big fan of as well. The Condor. I love players with a good nickname like that. The Condor is just an awesome nickname. So either way, Raiders win at 21-17. The Rams are proven to be a formidable foe for Los Angeles. 26-9, they beat the NFC West rival Cardinals. And, Cooper Kupp's coming back, and he looks like normal Cooper Kupp. Looks like 2021 Cooper Kupp. 7 receptions, 148, and a touchdown. I'm curious to see how Puka Nacua did, because now you got 2 receivers of similar types that are just super, super reliable. Nacua had 4 receptions for 26 yards on 7 targets, but the Rams are fun. I think the Rams are fun. I think they're a fringe pick for the wild card spot in this year's playoffs. I like how they're doing it, and they still got their superstars. They still got Matt Stafford. They still got Kupp, and they still have Aaron Donald. So they're a fun team, and I like what they're doing. I like how they're going about it. Moving on now to the Eagles and Jets. This one is obviously one of the bigger national games of this week. But the Eagles, they finally do not become undefeated. The Jets beat them 20-14 in a game that's raising a lot of eyebrows with the Eagles. Some people aren't worried. Some people are just like, it's going to happen. It's hard to get back to the Super Bowl, and you lose 2 coordinators, and it's going to be tough, but Eagles don't look unbeatable. They don't look like world beaters. They don't look like that same Super Bowl team. And all the reasons we mentioned before, how could they? That's what's going to happen. But the Jets seem to be on the cusp of a resurrection. Seem to be getting the right momentum that they need to dig themselves out of the losing Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season hole. They knock off one one of the undefeated teams. That Jets defense is sweet. Also, Quincy and Quinnen Williams, dude, how cool is that? To have two brothers on one of the best defenses in the league, linebacker and D tackle as well, like some of the bigger, harder hitting positions, and it's so cool. And apparently the Jets have never beat the Eagles before in history, so that was cool as well. So 20-14, Jets are now 500. Giants and Bills, gross. Bills win it 14-9 on a controversial ending of the game. Giants, they had it on the goal line. They didn't quite time out the play very well, and they ran the ball and they had barely enough time to clock it. And there was probably holding on Darren Waller at the touchdown, or that would have been a touchdown for the Giants, but Giants kind of stink too, man. Giants kind of stink, and I'm surprised that the Bills played more down to their level, I would say. Still, I mean, they still got the win. Bills are still 4-2. They're still top dogs. Or, actually, no, it's the Dolphins that are top dogs. What am I saying? But they're still up there in the division and in the league. So, I guess it's just one of those ugly games. And then finally, Monday Night Football. Cowboys and Chargers. This one was exciting. I heard this one on the radio. I think you can find it like the Bet 1270. They'll do prime time nationally, what would normally be nationally televised games. I do the radio call for it. I like to listen to that one as well. But I caught the last few plays of the game on the radio. The game was tied 17-17, and the Cowboys, they just came off of a field goal to gain the 20-17 lead. And then it's in the hands of the Chargers. They have a few minutes left. Parsons blows through what would have been a double team and knocks Herbert down. Boom! Got him. And then the very next play, Chargers need this. And on a pass to, from Herbert to rookie Quentin Johnson out of TCU, Stephon Gilmore is there. Scoops underneath it, gets the interception, and ends the game on the spot. That Cowboys defense coming in clutch to get the win and to really upset Chargers fans. And quick notes on that Chargers fan that everybody's talking about now. I don't know. It's tough. You look at the two pictures, you see Chargers fan. I don't want to say overly dramatic because I get crazy in the stands myself, but not quite that crazy. But you see that picture, and you see her in a Vikings jersey. Yeah, it doesn't look good, but allegedly, if you zoom out in the Vikings picture, it's different. It's at a different game, and it's not an NFL thing, but it's weird. And it's not. I mean, it's not a huge topic, but I kind of do think that it's played up. That it's not the most authentic, and we'll leave it at that. So that is Week 6 of the NFL, and what are we going to be looking for Week 7? Well, let me give you what I think we're going to be getting for Week 7 as the GioMoShow picks are getting locked in. So, since Thursday already passed, the Jaguars beat the Saints. I thought the Saints were going to get that one. Are you kidding me? Either way, we got an NFC South matchup between the 3-3 Falcons at the 3-2 Buccaneers. You're welcome for the 2 Buccaneers. I'm going to say, now both of these teams, I mentioned before, the Lions have beat both these teams, holding them to 6 points. So, right off the bat, I'm not going to look at the spread or anything. This is just intuition. This is just gut feeling is how we're picking these on the GioMoShow. For this one, I'm going to say I think the Falcons can get this one on the road. No, never mind. Falcons, they got to run the ball. Bucs are good at stopping the run. And The Falcons, without the run, can't throw very well. Bucs can. So I'm taking Bucs at home. You got Bills at Patriots. Bills. You got Browns at Colts. This one's kind of weird because the Browns, at least their offense, especially without Nick Chubb, what a NFL tragedy that was with his injury. But that defense is just so good, man. And Gardner Minshew plays pretty solid and consistent with the Colts. And then once I said that out loud, I said the Browns defense against Gardner Minshew. I got the Browns. I got the Lions against the Ravens. We talked about that earlier in the show. You can rewind to listen to it if you missed it. Got the Raiders at the Bears. This one's kind of tough. I kind of like where the Bears are, but I mean, gut feeling, I guess I'm still kind of riding the wave of that DJ Moore game against the Commanders. But Raiders, they're coming off of a division win, and they still got the Condor. They still got, they technically have Devontae Adams. I don't know for how much longer, because the Raiders just can't help themselves and making receivers hate them. They just can't help it, I guess. But Bears and Raiders, I'll go with the Bears. If the Bears are gonna get their second win, I think it could be against it's possible to be against a team like the Raiders that are a little bit more inconsistent. So I'll say the Bears get that one at home. At home. Come on now, man's voice. Washington at New York Giants. Commanders, they're coming off of a win against the Falcons. The Giants are really bad. I got the Commanders on the road. Division game in the West, NFC. Cardinals at the Seahawks. The Seahawks better get this one. I'll take the Seahawks at home. Steelers at Rams. I know Rams home field advantage isn't really a thing, but you got Pittsburgh. They're coming with a 2-hour delay. They're coming to the West. I'm not really liking, I don't know. I mean, you got the Steelers defense and you got the Rams offense. And, the opposite of that, the Steelers offense, Rams defense, aren't necessarily anything to be excited about, especially the Steelers offense. But going by my regular metrics of, whose defense is better, I'll say Steelers got the better defense. I'll say Rams got the better offense. But by how much is going to determine my pick. I'm thinking about it. I like the Rams in this one. I like the Rams in this one because you got not only Cooper Kupp, but you got Puka Nacua as well. So you got options, and I like the Rams in this one. I just like it. Let me like it. I got it. Packers at Broncos. I think the Packers, they're coming off a bye week against the Broncos on the road in Denver. Broncos were really bad. But will they really go 1-6? That's also what I kind of think of when I do these picks, is like which resulting record is going to be crazier. So if the Packers win this, they'll be 3-3, and the Broncos are 1-6. Otherwise, Broncos are 2-5, and the Packers are 2-4. Record-wise, the latter seems a little less crazy. But random pick. I'll take the Broncos in this one. I got a gut feeling that they're going to have at least 2 wins, at this point in the season. I mean, having 1 win all season long is incredible. And they got to fix something. Something's got to get fixed over there. Something has to show some signs of improvement for the Broncos. So I'm taking them over the Packers. Chiefs and Chargers, they always play each other close. And it's always like a last possession, or all within 1 possession between the two. My gut feeling is telling me the Chargers. Chiefs are a little fugazi to me, and I'm liking the way Khalil Mack's looking for the Chargers. If there's any season that Herbert can beat Mahomes, I think it's this season, given how the offense has struggled a little bit. I'll take the Chargers. I like the Chargers in this one. And a matchup of two 5-1 teams. Dolphins at Eagles. That one's tough. Eagles are coming off their first loss, but the Dolphins are still on fire coming off of that huge offensive game against the Panthers. But how are the Eagles going to defend? How are the Eagles going to stop the offense though? You know, that's where I'm kind of thinking that offense is just so nuclear that I always have a hard time thinking. But to me, this is kind of like the Eagles are the more consistent team on both sides. They're a more balanced team, and even with their offense, they're balanced. The Dolphins, obviously very biased towards their offense. I'll take the Eagles at home to kind of wash that taste out of their mouth from the Jets game and kind of bring the Dolphins back to earth just a little bit. I don't think it's going to change anything about these two teams. Like, oh, are the Dolphins fugazi themselves? No, I think either result of this game is like these are two of the best teams in the league. Someone's got to lose. So I'll say the Dolphins lose, and I got the Eagles at home. And for Monday Night Football, they got that game on Sunday night as well. Eagles, Dolphins. Oh, that's going to be a great Sunday night game. And then Monday night will be the 49ers and the Vikings. Come on, man. I don't care that the San Francisco 49ers are coming off a loss to the Browns. It's the Vikings. They stink. They got no Justin Jefferson. And it's got to be the 49ers. And since I'm being asked for a point total, I'll say a 50. I'll say 50 points. And those picks are locked and loaded. On the GioMoShow, you heard the picks live, or the session live. So you heard that, and we covered all sorts of things here on the GioMoShow for this episode. We went through Oakland University Club Sports, Oakland University D1 NCAA Sports. We talked about the Lions game against the Buccaneers. We talked about what my thoughts against the Ravens this week. We went through the NFL scoreboard and gave you the picks for next week. And we got through it and had a lot of fun on the way. So that is going to wrap up the GioMoShow for this week. My apologies to those who missed the live show, but that's why I'm here to give it to you anytime on WXOU, YouTube, and Spotify, wherever you could find it. You can find the GioMoShow Thursdays at 6 on WXOU. I'm Giovanni Mosheri. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.